Welcome to PPX training. I'm Ashley with Journey. We're going to go ahead and go through online payroll, how to submit payroll online, the new system, and then updates to the system. So some of you who are attending training today might already have your access to PPX. This might be just a refresher for you. So you're going to see an update to the way that PPX looks. So just bear with us as we kind of go through this for those who have not attended yet. But any questions, please feel free to submit your questions in the chat. I will address those as I can or at the end of training, just to make sure that we get through this in a timely manner. Anybody who is not currently set up for PPX access, please feel free to reach out to us. We can get you a login sent. And then you'll go through this whole process of getting logged in here, but it is a secure login system for those of you who have asked in the past. All right, so this is the dashboard. This is going to be your main view when you log in. This kind of gives you access to everything on this system. Things like your dashboard, your employee, your payroll, Hub account. Everybody has a Hub account, so your Hub account is in here as well, which is great for single sign-on. Reports tab, and then a tools tab, and we're going to walk through each of those today in training here. But this is your view when you first log in. So the things like reminders down here on the bottom left, that's going to be great if some clients like to use this throughout the payroll. Your payroll period, they go in, they can make changes because you can log into this at any time. So you can go in and make changes, update things as you want, add things as you want. Some people though just come in and add them as reminders so that when they go in to do payroll, they kind of block off a set of time and say, hey, I'm going to take this time and get everything entered into the system before I run payroll. So it's completely up to you, but again, you can log in and use this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As far as making changes, I always like to tell people when you get ready to start a payroll, you always want to go in and make those changes first. So any employee changes, make those first. If you have a new deduction that you need to have added, you need to reach out to your payroll specialist and they can add that for you. And then you can add it to each employee respectively. So make sure that you're doing all of those changes before you start a payroll. Once you start a payroll in this system, it captures everything on the employee level and pulls it into the Power Grid. So again, I always just like to make a couple of those notes before we really dive in. We're going to go to our employee tab and start there. Employee tab has everybody in your company listed here. This is your active employees that are showing up right now. If you notice up here, there's a hide terminated employees box. That is checked right now, which means all of my terminated employees are hidden. This helps to keep from my view being cluttered. However, if I need to access information on a terminated employee, let's say I have a terminated employee, it's coming to the end of the year, and I know W-2s are going out. If they have alerted me that they have a change in address, I'm going to want to make sure that that's updated. So I'm simply going to uncheck that box. My terminated employees show up in red. Okay. Down here at the bottom right-hand corner, there is the option to view more employees per page. So I know a lot of you have more than just a couple of employees, and so it's going to be nice to expand that view so you don't have to go through each page when you're looking for someone. The other thing that you can do is sort by first name, last name. If you're separated by divisions or departments, you're looking for one certain department, you can sort based off of your departments. You can sort based off of your last name, whatever is easier for you when you're going through your employees here. Either through PPX or through paperless onboarding. So keep that in mind going through this training. But there are two ways to do that. You can click Add Employee, and that will go through adding that new employee. So it's going to ask for the basic fields here. You're going to have a W-4 in front of you to plug all of this in. It goes through division, their W-4 withholdings, salary amount, or rate of pay. So you'll add all of this in. It automatically defaults to the next available employee ID. You can change that if you want. And then you create the employee record. The other option is to do paperless onboarding, which we will do a full training on the paperless onboarding. But if you're not familiar with it through Hub, which I hope most of you are, it's a really neat tool. But if you're not familiar with it, just reach out and we will definitely get you some training on that side as well. Layout. So there's two different layouts for your employee view. List view is what we're currently in. Card view is an option as well. Card view, as you can see, is a lot more information. It's laid out a little differently as well, which some people really like this. Some people call this the Facebook for payroll. It's completely up to you and what works best, but list view seems to be the most popular. All right, now we're going to pick on an employee here. We'll go into Candace Space. So, and mind you, this is our demo company. So, but once you click on an employee, it opens up these tabs up here for them, okay? So you have an employee you need to change an address on, maybe an employee that you need to update an email, need to update their rate of pay, anything on their status. So maybe they've changed departments, divisions, maybe they're going from part-time to full-time. Those can all be changed in each of these boxes. So you'll notice each box has edit information. Just simply come in, update whatever you need to update, and then make sure you hit save. That is so important because if you go to your next tab and you don't hit save, it's not going to save the information. Rate of pay, same deal here. Edit information, there's 3 different rates of pay. There's also salary. One of the things that we see happen sometimes is the salary gets put in as an annual salary and not a per pay salary. So just keep in mind when you're adding a salary, be sure to add the frequency that is listed, divide it by the frequency listed here. So this is a weekly payroll. So I'm not going to put their annual salary in, I'm going to put their weekly salary in. So what that, breaks down to weekly. Or let's say she's getting a raise, we're going to go ahead and put it in here and then save. Okay. Status, again, full-time, part-time, start date, term date. So if we need to terminate somebody, you can simply hit edit information, hit change, drop down for your termination date, and then your reason. So it's kind of handy to have so that you can track reasons of why somebody was terminated and at a later date be able to come in and check that. You'll notice the only box that you cannot edit in here is the paid time off. The reason being is our system is designed to run off of the accrual that we have built in your company. So just be sure that if there are any changes that need to happen or you notice something is off, it's going to be best to contact us directly and make sure that we can get that figured out for you, because this should be something that is just automatically run every time. Payroll information is things like scheduled earnings, deductions, direct deposit. So scheduled earnings is anything outside of their normal pay that you want them to receive every single time. I'm going to jump back here and get into an employee that has some deductions so that we can kind of check that out here. So you'll see John has a lot of deductions listed. So this is where I can go and check if my medical, let's say I have a renewal coming for my medical insurance and those rates are going up. I can come in here and edit that rate for John at any point in time. Things like child supports garnishments, you're still going to want to send those directly to your payroll specialist because we need to build them in as a vendor payment for you. So I would say those are probably the 2 that you'll still want to work with your payroll specialist on, but everything else you have access to change and add. So let's say you have a new deduction for John, and it'll give you every deduction type possible that he doesn't already have. So the nice thing is you can't double up on deductions accidentally. Scheduled earnings. So again, anything that you want them to be paid outside of their normal pay every single payroll. This could be an auto reimbursement, a cell phone reimbursement, anything like that maybe you want them to go ahead and get every time and you don't want to have to remember to pay it. You can build it in over there. We have a bonus code built currently. I'd be really careful with putting bonuses here. When you get on the payroll tab, there is an option for the bonus column, and I would go ahead and use that for bonus amounts because those do change and they're not always the same. So be very wary of bonus here, but Everything else, outside of their normal pay is good to list here if they always get it. Direct deposit. So you have up to 4 accounts with Journey that your employees can have money put into. On your PPX Access, you have the first 2 accounts. If you need the next 2 accounts, just reach out to your payroll specialist for them to be able to add those on the back end. But your direct deposit feature that we're really excited about is the ability to change that status. So anytime you add in a direct deposit, there's 2 different options for the status, active and pre-note. The pre-note, and this confuses people, so I'll go ahead and make sure we really touch on it today, but pre-note means that it's going to test the account. So we're going to run payroll, test the account, we send a test to the bank, and they make sure that that's an active account. Oftentimes when you put in routing numbers or account numbers, it happens, we're all human, but it can get transposed. And if it gets transposed, you don't want that money to be returned. The return process, for anybody that's gone through it or anybody internally, the return process is really, it can be a couple of days, it can be longer. It depends on where that money has gone, where it's sitting, and how they're going to reroute it. So it's definitely, if you're not 100% sure, let's say you get a direct deposit form from your employee, they've handwritten it and their handwriting is a little iffy, you're not quite sure if you understand if it's a 6 or an 8 or whatever the case may be, go ahead and put it in as a pre-note. What's going to happen is we're going to run payroll, a live check's going to be cut for them, and they can either pick it up here at our office or they can send it in or send it via mail. Then going forward, so long as there's no issues with that account, we don't get any notice from the bank, then they can actually, it'll switch it automatically to an active status, and then they'll get direct deposit going forward. For those of you who trust yourselves with this, definitely put it as an active status. Maybe even have another set of eyes. If there's somebody else in your office who can jump in and be able to, double check that number. If you have a check from your employee, definitely just look it over a couple times, make sure everything looks good, and then put it at that active status. You'll notice we have 2 accounts listed, a savings and a checking. The checking account, there's different splits on these, and I'll go ahead and switch this because it does look like we had that wrong. Whoops. Let's see what that changes it to. Well, I'm not going to spend too much time on this side, but first account and second account. Your first account is going to be what you want, a split method or a flat amount going into. So let's say that I want $50 going into my savings account every time. I'm going to list that as the first account. That means that $50 of my pay is going to automatically go into that account. My second account, I'm going to want to put 100%. And this can get confusing because people think, well, let's say they wanted 20% in the first account, then I'm going to assume 80% should go into the second account. As much as that seems like it's going to work, it's actually going to then cut a check as well for the remainder of the pay. So if you put 20% into the first account, or if you put $50 into the first account, the second account should always read 100%. Don't try and think that you have to do a percentage or figure out the rest of my net pay. What is that going to be? How do I figure all that out? Just do your second account should always read 100%. And your first account should always have either the split or the flat amount going in. If you have questions on whether you're doing this right, do you know how to do it? Do you know how to update it? Definitely reach out to your payroll specialist. They'll be able to help walk you through, or at least double check on our side to know that it's been done correctly. The next tab is tax info. So this is where federal and state comes into play. Your federal status, you can come in here and change this for your employee. Let's say that, let's say they have a single status at this point and they come to you, they've just gotten married, they want to go ahead and get that changed. Make sure you come in here, edit information, change that to married, and let's say their allowances change as well. You can update that here. One thing you can also do is you'll notice there's 2 different boxes down here, extra or fixed amount for federal withholding. Extra means you're asking the system on top of what it's calculating at married and 2, you want an extra, let's say $100. You would put that $100 here and it's going to tell the system that outside of what it's already calculating, we want an extra $100 to be withheld as well. Fixed amount means you're basically telling the system you want to override everything that it would be trying to calculate at Married Into and just take a fixed amount for their federal withholding. Oftentimes this comes into play when people have met with their CPA and they're trying to help plan out things a little bit better so that maybe they don't have to owe taxes when tax time comes. So it's good to know that these options are there. It's always good to know for your employees' sake too that, hey, if they happen to need some information or they happen to meet with their CPA and say, my CPA is asking for this, you can say, yep, great, we can, definitely get that taken care of in payroll. Okay. Additional fields is going to be for things like memos. Memos is going to be great for 401k match. So we have a lot of companies that do a match on their 401k. If you do a match, it is built in the system here. So you guys can add that on so that it's printed out on the employee's pay stub, and they can definitely account for whatever match you guys have agreed to, whether that's a flat amount or a percentage. That can be built on our side with the help of your payroll specialist. So definitely let them know or let us know in the setup process what you want that to look like. And like I said, for any of you who are currently using PPX and you're using this as kind of a good refresher, you've come at a great time because, as you can tell, this has definitely updated. The look has updated. We're really excited about this. There's some really cool features that are coming out, and we are appreciative that you're all understanding of being able to log in and see a different look. Nothing has changed drastically. You've not lost any features. It's just sometimes things go through a little bit of an update, and we're really excited for it. I know a lot of clients are excited for it. I think it looks a little bit more clean and easy to use. So please, if you're looking at this and you're saying, my PPX does not look like that, just know it did go through an update. We sent out a blast a couple days ago. So should you feel like you missed that, that's what this is in regards to. I'm going to skip over payroll for the time being, just to kind of go through the other tabs here, just so that everybody's on the same page before we actually run that payroll. Hub accounts. So like I said, everybody is set up with a hub account here at Journey. The time feature is dependent upon whether or not you use our time clock. So if this looks funny because you're like, wait a second, we don't have time, that's just because our demo company is turned on for the time feature. If you don't, obviously that hub clock goes away. Still though, employee documents, payroll reports, you can access everything through here. As you all are aware, you can access your hub outside of here. Those of you who do not have PPX currently, just know that you'll be able to log into your hub through your PPX access, which is really great because it goes back to that single sign-on. Clock. So if you have employees clocking in and clocking out, you can access their clock through here. You can change their information, update time cards. History tab, same thing. You have your history tab here with check stubs and W-2s, your admin tab. So again, everything is listed here for you. So you don't have to be in Hub on one screen and PPX on the other. Reports tab. So your reports tab is going to have your payroll reports listed in there. You can download them. You can refresh if you've maybe just run a payroll. Obviously, keep in mind when you run a payroll and you submit a payroll, once we run it through and do what we need to do on our side, that's when your payroll reports are pushed out. So if you run a payroll at 10 o'clock at night, the day before it's due, just know you're not going to get your payroll reports until that next day. There's still things on our side that we have to do to ensure that your payroll's getting run through all the systems here. So you won't have payroll reports that night. You would have them the day that we actually process your payroll. And then tools. The tools tab has, for those of you who have never played around in it, the tools tab has your HR support center. So definitely come in here if you'd like, log into your HR support center. That's where you get some of your handbook descriptions or outlines, your job policies. There's so many things you guys can do in that. And if you're unfamiliar with this, please reach out to me or reach out to our admin email. Please reach out. If you're in Arizona, reach out to your Arizona office. make sure that you guys are fully aware of this resource. I don't think everybody knows about it, and it's a resource that can really help you guys out with a lot of things. So again, reach out if you have not played around in this, if you're unaware of what it is. We'll be happy to go through a quick demo with you. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our payroll tab. So payroll is, again, those of you who have been in here before, you know not to hit start one-step payroll. Always hit the green payroll. It defaults to the start payroll. That's why it's highlighted green. If you hit start payroll by accident, and we've had a couple clients accidentally hit this, and then they go all the way to the very end and they have no totals. They have nothing on their pre-process report. They can't see anything. All it gives them is the option to submit. That is great for clients that are auto clients that maybe if you are attending today and you have, no changes ever to payroll and you pay the same things, you're all salaried and you don't need to add anything on the power grid, start one-step payroll would work for you because it essentially just takes you all the way to the end so that you can see your pre-process, make sure everything looks good. Not that it would change, but it's a good chance for you to check that out, and then you can submit payroll. So for start one-step payroll clients, your payroll process can literally take you about 4 minutes. Those that need to add hours in, add bonuses, add miscellaneous reimbursements, those of you that need that power grid, you'll just hit start payroll. So we'll go ahead and start our payroll. It's going to automatically select my very next check date available, okay? This is a really cool update. This run unscheduled payroll is an option for you guys. So, like I said, this is driven off of your calendar we have built in the system. Let's say you're terminating somebody or you have a bonus run. If you click run unscheduled payroll, you can actually select the date that you want to have that run. It will automatically calculate it on an unscheduled payroll basis, so you're not taking your next check date, and you can process it through. Your payroll specialist here will know that it's unscheduled. Nothing will be screwed up with your calendar. Everything will be kosher going forward. So this is, again, a new feature. So for those of you who have seen the online payroll before and are unaware of this new run unscheduled payroll, that's what that is for. And I will tell you, we have pushed for this option for a very long time, just for the simple fact that, before this update, you had to reach out to your payroll specialist to add another calendar date for you. This gives you the ability to be able to do that on your own. If you use the time system and you import those, this would automatically be checked because that's how we have you set up in our system. For the demo company's sake, I went ahead and had our staff uncheck that and remove that completely so that I can show you guys what that power grid looks like. Okay, so everything looks good. I'm going to hit create payroll. Going to pull up my power grid for me, and this is where I have everybody listed. Again, I always jump right away to the pays per page and change that so that I have everybody listed on one page and I don't have to go back and forth on pages down here. What you'll notice though is everybody has a check mark next to them. If they have a check mark in the box, that means they're getting paid. If you don't want somebody to be paid, let's say that Molly Brown has not worked any hours on this payroll. I don't want to delete Molly because she's still an employee, but I also don't want to have a rate in here and no hours, because what's going to happen is Molly's going to she's going to show up on the power or the pre-process, and it's going to show her as $0 and 0 cents. So she's getting a negative or a net zero check. You'll get a warning when you process that says you have a net zero check, and she's going to be on the reports. She's going to get an alert via her hub that's going to say you have a pay stub ready that's $0 and 0 cents. So just be sure if you're not paying them, again, not the end of the world per se, but probably more of an annoyance than anything. So if you're not paying somebody, just uncheck them. Okay. What you'll notice is all the rates are in here. As I mentioned before, make sure you make any changes to your employees before you start payroll. That way everything pulls over. You'll notice there's no deductions listed on here. We don't want deductions listed on here. We want to know that those are automatically going to happen. What we do, however, want is the ability to add things like holiday pay, sick pay, vacation, personal, bonus, miscellaneous deduction, childcare reimbursement, anything that we have listed. And these can all be customizable to what you guys want to see. So what I'm going to do here is I just know that I'm going to go through and I'm going to plug in some hours. Now, anybody who has an amount listed, like Von Miller here, amount means that's what they're getting paid as a salary. So that's what's plugged in on their employee screen, which is coming automatically over. So I don't have to do those every time. I don't have to put those in. All I have to put in is my hourly staff. Bonus to this would be if you use the time clock. If you use our time system, your time will automatically come through with that import of hours. So you don't even have to do anything but approve the timesheets. Then when you get to this page, all you would have to do at this point is look at any holiday pay, which if you're using our hub clock and you have the holidays turned on, that'll even automatically come over as well. Sick and vacation, same thing. That's why using the hub for time is so much more beneficial for people, because everything can be pulled in onto the Power Grid, and all you would have to do is add bonuses, miscellaneous deductions, things of that nature, and then you're done. Okay. If not, you'll just go through and make sure everybody gets hours added. And for time's sake, we're just going to add 48 hours for every person. We can go ahead and add some bonuses in here as well. Okay. Now, a couple different options here. You see you have a gear here. If you want to add another row, if you want to add, let's say this employee has 2 different departments that they normally work in, or maybe they helped you guys out with something, and so you want to have that designated on their pay stub a bit different. You can add duplicate a row, and when you duplicate a row, it brings in 2. So there would be 2 lines for John Elway. In that situation, you can add a different rate if you want. You can even then, at that point, select how many checks. So John has, let's say John has 2 rows. I can put check 1 and check 2. Let's say he has a commission and you want his commission check to be on a different check. You can put his regular pay and everything else on the one check and commission on a second check. So that's what this checkbox right here means. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and hit continue. And then it's going to pop up with this lovely little warning to let me know that I have selected all 15 out of 15 employees to pay. Is it correct? What's really great about this is, let's say you're going through things and you accidentally uncheck somebody. It at least is going to tell you here. So if you get this message that pops up and all of a sudden it says 13 out of 15 employees are being paid, I instantly can know, wait a second, how come 2 of my employees are missing? Then I can say cancel, go back, double check. Oh, whoops, looks like somebody was unchecked, which is, a good way to kind of check that before it actually goes through for processing, to make sure that an employee doesn't get missed on payroll. Now, as it's processing, so what it's doing is it's processing everything. It's getting us our check totals, and it's getting us to that pre-process. When we get to that pre-process, I know a lot of you really like that. It's a good way for you to check everything. And here we have some warnings, which is great. But it's a good way to check everything. So anybody that's with us currently or has been with us, we really encourage you to be online for that pre-process as well. So here you'll see we do have a couple messages. We do have a 0 net check. We also have a negative check. What's nice is it tells me which employees those are on. Now, because this is the demo company, keep in mind we're all kind of making changes to this, and this is the system we use to kind of check things out. So somebody probably added some deductions in here, and we probably have somebody that has more deductions than pay. So we'll hit review payroll totals, and it'll bring us to where I can jump into that pre-process and see where we have those errors. Okay. So once it refreshes everything for us, you'll see that I have my PDF here. I'll open that up. It opens it up into a whole nother window, which is great because then I can still jump back here with my pre-process pulled up. I can come back to my screen, hit back to edit payroll, and make any of those changes. If you hit back to edit payroll, it takes you back to your Power Grid. You can also come in at this point and say, I'm going to have this pre-process pulled up so that I can have somebody else in my office double check it as well. Then you can come in, print this out, come back here, save and exit. When you save and exit and then log back in the next time, you're going to click your payroll tab and it's going to say complete payroll. It'll bring you all the way back to here to where if there are changes, let's say you and somebody else looked this over, somebody was supposed to get a bonus that didn't, you can just come in, back to edit payroll, add that bonus, come back to process. Okay. So I can look on here, normal right here. Oops, sorry. Normal means they're getting a paper check. Scroll down here. DD means they're getting direct deposit. Okay. So if you're in here and you notice, gosh, I thought I added direct deposit for Molly Brown, but it looks like she's getting a check. At this point, you know then that, hey, I'm probably going to need to leave a note for my payroll specialist to double check and make sure I entered that direct deposit right. What you cannot do here, and this is something that I don't think enough people are aware of, is if you notice here, oh, I forgot to put Molly's direct deposit in. You cannot go in here at this point, click employee, add the direct, you can add the direct deposit. However, it's not going to change this payroll because remember, like I said, it captures everything on that employee tab and brings it over. So if you get to this point and you realize, I think maybe I left that to a pre-note status on the direct deposit, or maybe I just flat forgot. Then you can come over here, you can leave a note. So there is a little box that you can submit to your payroll specialist and say, I forgot to add Molly Brown's direct deposit, or can you just check and make sure it's active? I will say it is easier for you guys to, that's why I kind of always say, make sure you do all your employee changes first, but it's going to happen. One-offs are going to happen and we can definitely help get that fixed for you. So we've checked everything on our report. Let's see who has the negative. So it looks like we just didn't have our little Kirsten kitten here. We just didn't have enough for her. So that's why she's getting a negative. But again, these are things just the demo company's a little bit off. But you shouldn't ever have a bunch of issues, but it's great to be able to point those out and fix those before you actually process payroll. If I'm over here, nothing is wrong. Let's just pretend everything is right on here. There's no changes I need to make. I can come over here and I can say, okay, this is the dollar amount that I know I need to have in my bank account for payroll. If there are changes that have to be made, keep in mind this dollar amount might fluctuate a little bit, especially if it's adding wages to somebody, changing wages, taking away wages. That dollar amount might change a little bit, so just be wary of that. But if you have no changes to make, the greatest part about this is that you get your cash requirements right away, you get your pre-process right away. Everything is instant for you guys. Then when you submit it to Journey, you know that everything is taken care of. Again, if there are some things that need to be changed, just watch out for your cash requirements alert to make sure that that number is still the same or pretty close to. Okay. This does also include taxes. It includes our invoice. So that is included in that amount. So we're going to go ahead and pretend like our pre-process was perfect. And we're going to say we're ready to process. So what I can do here is submit my payroll. It's going to ask me to confirm that I want to submit it, at which point I can say, okay. Once I submit payroll, I'm back to where my payroll tab says start payroll back here, but it's going to say, congratulations, you've successfully submitted. We do have clients that get this. They're really excited. Woohoo, I'm done. And then they panic because something has dawned on them. They forgot something. It is best at this point that you call your specialist right away. If there is something that you forgot that is absolutely vital to this payroll, call your specialist right away. They will be able to jump in, make some changes for you. But our cutoff, we can't, unfortunately, the next day we can't make changes. Even later that afternoon, it's sometimes past the point of being able to make changes. So just make sure, keep all your ducks in a row and just make sure that you've entered everything correctly. And if you notice at this point that you haven't, call them ASAP because they can, there are points and times where they can make changes and there's definitely times where it's past the deadline for us. Okay, and you'll notice then it brings you back to just start payroll, and you're ready for your next check date. I think that pretty well takes care of everything I wanted to go through with you guys today. You'll notice, like I said, there are features on here, your little tiles here, that you're not going to want to mess with. You're not going to want to get involved with. The manual checks is a big one, and I will tell you, we are all really excited for this. With this, though, there are things we have to turn on. So we just want to make sure, you know, if that's something and a feature that you really want, we're just as excited. We're working right now just with our programmers trying to make sure that everything is updated first and foremost, and then turning things like that on. We'll definitely talk to everybody about that and make sure everybody's aware of that. And then we will be doing, we have a step up from this for clients that might need some different features. And so we will be doing a training on our pro version, and that will come probably next month. We're trying to get some things done here internally to make sure that we can give you guys the best webinar for that one. So we'll make sure to get that out to everybody, and that way you guys can see any sort of upgrades from that side as well. But that takes care of it right now. I don't see any questions in there quite yet. If this is something you want turned on, please shoot us an email. Your payroll specialist, myself, Arizona folks, shoot your office an email. Let them know if you want to sign up for it. Let us know if you want to sign up for it. We are happy to get everybody on here. And again, this PPX, this is online payroll. This does not cost you any extra money. That's the best part about this. It's a service that is included. It's so friendly to use. It's so fast. As you can all hopefully have seen from today's demo, it definitely gives you a lot more control. And I think sometimes that's better than submitting your payroll via email. So again, I'll leave it open for about a minute here just to see if there's questions. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Reach out for anything to your payroll specialist or to myself, and we'll definitely address it then. Have a great day.